Liam O'Connor, an Australian veteran, stood at the edge of the colony, his eyes scanning the horizon as the sun set behind the alien skyline. The Gorax had been quiet for weeks, and that worried him more than their frequent harassment. The alien bullies had tormented the human settlers since they first arrived, extorting resources and spreading fear. Tonight, the air was thick with an uneasy calm. The bustling colony, usually a beacon of hope and resilience, seemed subdued. Liam noticed the wary glances of settlers and the hushed conversations. He adjusted his utility belt, a habit from his military days, and walked towards the marketplace. The scent of alien spices mingled with the familiar aroma of roasting meat, but even this comforting blend couldn't mask the underlying tension. "Liam!" a voice called out. He turned to see Mia Jensen, the colony's leader, hurrying towards him. Her expression was a mixture of relief and urgency. "We need to talk." Liam nodded, following her to a quieter corner of the marketplace. Mia's auburn hair framed a face etched with determination and worry. "The Gorax have been too quiet. I fear they're planning something bigger." "We need to be ready," Liam replied, his voice steady but filled with the weight of past battles. "I'll start training the settlers. They need to know how to defend themselves." Mia's eyes softened with gratitude. "Thank you, Liam. The children look up to you. We all do." As they spoke, a group of children ran past, laughing and playing. Liam's gaze followed them, his heart aching at the thought of their innocence being shattered by the Gorax. Suddenly, a loud guttural shout interrupted their conversation. A Gorax patrol had entered the marketplace, their towering figures casting long shadows. Liam's hand instinctively moved to the knife strapped to his thigh. The lead Gorax, a particularly brutish creature named Craxus, spotted Liam and sneered. "Human scum," he growled, his voice dripping with contempt. "Stay out of our way, and maybe we won't crush your pitiful settlement." The settlers around them fell silent, fear evident in their eyes. Liam stepped forward, his stance defiant. "We're not afraid of you, Craxus. This colony is under my protection." Craxus laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Big words for a tiny human. Let's see how long you can keep up this bravado." With that, the Gorax turned and left, leaving a trail of unease in their wake. Mia placed a hand on Liam's arm. "We can't let them intimidate us. We have to show them we won't be bullied." "I know," Liam replied, his jaw set in determination. "We start training tomorrow." That night, Liam gathered a group of settlers in the central square. The makeshift training ground was lit by torches, casting flickering shadows on their determined faces. "We need to be prepared," Liam began, his voice carrying a blend of authority and encouragement. "The Gorax are strong, but we have the advantage of strategy and unity." He demonstrated basic defensive techniques, guiding the settlers through each move. His instructions were clear and concise, his military training evident in every word. As they practiced, the settlers' confidence grew, their initial fear replaced by a sense of empowerment. Hours passed, and the settlers, though exhausted, were more united than ever. Liam looked at their faces, seeing the transformation from helplessness to resolve. "We'll protect our home," he said, more to himself than anyone else. Just as they were about to disperse, a distant explosion shattered the night's calm. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and a column of smoke rose on the horizon. Panic spread through the settlers, but Liam's voice cut through the chaos. "Stay calm. Gather your families and head to the shelters." Mia ran up to him, her face pale but composed. "What do we do now?" Liam's mind raced. The Gorax had made their move sooner than expected. "We need to assess the damage and prepare for retaliation. I'll take a team to investigate the explosion. You coordinate the defense here." She nodded, her eyes reflecting the trust she placed in him. "Be careful, Liam." "I always am," he replied with a grim smile. As Liam and his team moved towards the source of the explosion, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The Gorax were testing their limits, and it was up to him to show them that humans were not to be underestimated. The sight that greeted them was worse than he had imagined. Several buildings were reduced to rubble, and the acrid smell of burning metal filled the air. Survivors were pulling themselves from the wreckage, their faces covered in soot and fear. Liam's heart clenched at the devastation, but his resolve only hardened. "This is our home," he muttered under his breath, "and we will defend it with everything we have." The aftermath of the explosion left the colony in a state of disarray. The acrid stench of burning metal and charred wood filled the air as settlers scrambled to extinguish the remaining fires. Liam O'Connor, his face grim and determined, directed the rescue efforts with military precision. Every action, every command, was driven by the need to protect and rebuild. Mia Jensen approached him, her eyes reflecting the shared burden they both carried. "The damage is extensive," she said, her voice steady but laced with concern. "We need to organize repairs and ensure everyone's safety." Liam nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. "We'll split into teams. One group will focus on immediate repairs, another on fortifying our defenses. I'll take a team to scout for any remaining threats." As the settlers divided into their respective groups, Liam gathered a small contingent, including his trusted ally Xaroth, the Zoltran strategist. Xaroth's reptilian features were inscrutable, but his loyalty was unwavering. "We need to anticipate their next move," Liam said, glancing at the alien. "What do you make of this attack?" Xaroth's eyes narrowed in thought. "The Gorax are testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses. This was not a full assault, but a calculated strike. We must be vigilant." Their first stop was the outskirts of the colony, where the explosion had caused the most damage. Liam's heart sank at the sight of crumbled buildings and injured settlers, but he masked his sorrow with determination. He bent down to help a young boy, tears streaking his dirt-covered face. "We'll rebuild," Liam assured him, his voice gentle yet firm. "We're stronger than they think." The boy nodded, his eyes wide with admiration. It was moments like these that reinforced Liam's resolve. He turned to Xaroth. "We need to fortify the perimeter. If the Gorax come back, we must be ready." As they worked, the settlers' spirits lifted. They saw in Liam a beacon of hope, a leader who would stand with them no matter the odds. Each hammer strike, each rebuilt wall, was a testament to their resilience. The camaraderie among them grew stronger, their unity a bulwark against the fear that the Gorax sought to instill. While overseeing the fortifications, Liam noticed a familiar face among the workers: Tom Wilkins, a fellow veteran. Tom had always been a reliable comrade, his strength and loyalty unquestionable. "Tom," Liam called out, "I need your help with something." Tom approached, wiping sweat from his brow. "What's up, Liam?" Liam led him to a quieter spot. "The Gorax are planning something bigger. We need to train the settlers, teach them how to defend themselves. I can't do it alone." Tom nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Consider it done. We'll make soldiers out of them yet." That evening, the settlers gathered in the central square, transformed now into a training ground. Liam and Tom stood before them, their presence commanding respect and attention. "We need to be prepared for anything," Liam began, his voice carrying the weight of authority and experience. "The Gorax won't stop until we show them we're not easy targets." Tom stepped forward, his voice booming with conviction. "We're going to train you to defend your homes and your families. It won't be easy, but it's necessary." Under the twilight sky, the settlers began their training. Liam and Tom demonstrated basic defensive techniques, guiding them through each move with patience and precision. The settlers, though inexperienced, showed remarkable determination. Every punch thrown, every block executed, was a step towards reclaiming their sense of security. As the night deepened, so did their resolve. The training was intense, but the settlers' progress was evident. Mia watched from the sidelines, her heart swelling with pride. She approached Liam during a brief break. "They're learning fast," she remarked, admiration in her voice. "They have to," Liam replied, his gaze steady. "We don't have the luxury of time." Just as the training session was about to conclude, a faint rumble echoed through the night. The ground trembled slightly, and the settlers paused, their eyes wide with apprehension. Liam's senses sharpened, his instincts honed from years of combat. "Stay alert," he commanded, scanning the surroundings. The rumble grew louder, and a sense of foreboding settled over the square. Suddenly, a bright light flashed in the distance, followed by a deafening roar. The settlers gasped, their fear palpable. Liam's heart pounded as he realized the Goraks were launching another attack, and this time it was closer. "We need to move," Liam shouted, rallying the settlers. "Get to the shelters, now." Under the cloak of darkness, Liam O'Connor led his team through the dense forest surrounding the colony. Each step was deliberate, each breath measured. The Goraks had kidnapped several settlers during the last attack, and their rescue was paramount. The air was thick with tension, the silence punctuated only by the soft rustling of leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. Beside Liam, Zaroth moved with an almost feline grace, his eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "We're close," Zaroth whispered, his voice barely audible. "The Gorax camp is just beyond this ridge." Liam nodded, signaling for his team to halt. He turned to Mia Jensen, who had insisted on joining the mission despite his objections. Her determination had won out, and now she stood ready, her face set in grim resolve. "We'll split into 2 groups," Liam instructed. "Zaroth and I will create a diversion while you and Tom secure the prisoners." Mia's eyes met his, and she nodded. "We'll get them out, Liam. I promise." With the plan set, they moved forward. The Gorax camp came into view, a chaotic sprawl of makeshift tents and flickering fires. The Gorax, towering and menacing, patrolled the perimeter, their guttural voices carrying through the night. Liam's heart pounded as he and Exaroth took their positions, preparing to draw the enemy's attention. "Ready?" Liam asked, his voice low but firm. Zaroth gave a single nod, and together they launched their assault. Explosive charges set by Liam detonated, lighting up the night with bursts of fire and smoke. The Gorax roared in surprise, scrambling to respond to the sudden attack. Liam and Exaroth moved with precision, drawing the Gorax away from the prisoners. Meanwhile, Mia and Tom slipped into the camp, their movements swift and silent. They reached the makeshift cage where the settlers were held, using laser cutters to slice through the metal bars. "Stay quiet and follow us," Mia instructed the captives, her voice a steady anchor in the chaos. The settlers, though frightened, obeyed without question. Tom took the lead, guiding them through the shadows toward safety. Mia stayed at the rear, her senses on high alert for any sign of danger. They were almost out when a Gorax guard appeared, blocking their path. Before the guard could sound the alarm, Mia lunged forward, her training taking over. With a swift, calculated strike, she incapacitated the guard, her movements a blur of efficiency. "Go!" she urged the settlers, and they resumed their escape. Back at the front lines, Liam and Exaroth continued their assault. The Gorax were disoriented, their attempts to regroup thwarted by the relentless attacks. Liam's mind raced, calculating each move, each step. He knew they couldn't hold out forever, but they had to buy enough time for the settlers to get clear. "Time to fall back," Zaroth signaled, his voice cutting through the din of battle. Liam nodded, retreating with practiced precision. As they regrouped with Maya and Tom, relief washed over him at the sight of the freed settlers. "Did everyone make it?" he asked, his eyes scanning the group. "All accounted for," Mia confirmed, her voice tinged with exhaustion and triumph. But their respite was short-lived. The ground trembled as a massive Gorax warlord emerged from the shadows, his eyes burning with fury. "You dare defy us, human?" he bellowed, his voice shaking the very air. Liam stepped forward, his resolve unshakable. "We'll do more than defy you. We'll drive you out." The warlord's laugh was a dark, menacing sound. "We'll see about that." The ensuing battle was fierce, each side giving no quarter. Liam and his team fought with everything they had, their determination a palpable force. But the Gorax warlord was relentless, his strength overwhelming. Just when it seemed they might be overrun, a blinding light filled the clearing. From the sky descended a group of Zoltran warriors, led by Xaroth's kin. Their arrival turned the tide, their advanced weaponry and strategic prowess a match for the Gorax brute force. The warlord, caught off guard, roared in frustration as his forces were decimated. Liam seized the moment, rallying his team for a final push. Together with the Zoltran warriors, they drove the Gorax back, reclaiming the camp and securing their victory. The warlord, wounded and defeated, retreated into the night, his threat still looming but for now diminished. As dawn broke, Liam stood with Maya, Tom, and Zaroth, surveying the aftermath. The rescued settlers were safe, their spirits lifted by the successful mission. But Liam knew this was only a temporary reprieve. The Goraks would return, and they needed to be ready. "We did it," Mia said, her voice filled with a mix of relief and determination. Liam nodded, his eyes on the horizon. "This is just the beginning. We need to prepare for the battles ahead." Chapter 4: The Final Stand. The dawn broke with a fragile serenity over the colony, but Liam O'Connor knew it was the calm before the storm. The settlers moved with a purpose, fortifying their defenses and preparing for the inevitable return of the Goraks. The atmosphere buzzed with a mix of anxiety and determination. Every action, every decision was driven by the urgency to protect their home. Liam gathered his core team in the command center, a makeshift hub brimming with maps, communication devices, and hastily scribbled strategies. Zaroth stood beside him, his alien features marked by a rare intensity. Mia and Tom joined them, their faces etched with resolve. "We have to anticipate their next move," Liam began, his voice steady. "The Goraks warlord won't take this defeat lightly." Zaroth pointed to the map, highlighting potential weak points in their defenses. "They'll likely attack from the east. The terrain there is less fortified and offers them cover." Mia nodded, her mind already racing with ideas. "We need to bolster our forces there and set up additional traps. If we can predict their path, we can turn their strength against them." Tom, ever the pragmatist, added, "We also need to ensure the settlers are ready. Everyone who can fight must be prepared to defend our home." As they finalized their plans, a lookout burst into the room, breathless. "They're coming. The Goraks are approaching from the east?" The urgency in the room heightened, but Liam remained calm. "This is it. Remember the training and stick to the plan. We stand together or we fall." The settlers moved swiftly, taking their positions. Liam led a contingent to the eastern front, where the first signs of the Goraks' advance were already visible. The ground shook under the weight of their march, a terrifying reminder of the enemy's brute strength. But the settlers had something more powerful, the will to protect their home. Liam positioned himself at the forefront, his presence a rallying point for the others. "Hold your ground," he commanded, his voice unwavering. "We fight for our future." The battle erupted with a ferocity that shook the very air. The Goraks charged, their massive forms a terrifying sight. But the settlers, fortified by Liam's leadership and their newfound unity, met them head-on. The traps and fortifications set in place worked to their advantage, slowing the Goraks' advance and giving the settlers a fighting chance. In the midst of the chaos, Liam fought with a precision born of years of combat experience. Each strike, each maneuver was calculated, designed to maximize impact. Beside him, Zaroth used his advanced weaponry to devastating effect, his sharp eyes scanning for strategic opportunities. Mia and Tom coordinated the settlers, ensuring no position was left vulnerable. The settlers, though not seasoned warriors, fought with a tenacity that belied their inexperience. They defended their home with every ounce of strength they had, driven by the knowledge that failure was not an option. As the battle raged, the Goraks' warlord emerged, his presence a dark, looming threat. His eyes burned with a malevolent fury as he targeted Liam. "You will fall, human!" he roared, his voice a thunderous boom. Liam met his gaze, unflinching. "Not today." Their confrontation was a clash of titans, each move echoing the gravity of the conflict. The warlord's strength was formidable, but Liam's resolve was unbreakable. As they fought, the battle around them seemed to hinge on their duel, the outcome of which would determine the fate of the colony. With a final, decisive strike, Liam managed to wound the warlord, forcing him to retreat. The sight of their leader's defeat demoralized the Goraks, and their advance faltered. The settlers seized the opportunity, rallying with renewed vigor to drive the Goraks back. The mini-climax arrived as the Goraks, realizing the futility of their assault, began to retreat. Cheers erupted from the settlers as they watched the enemy withdraw, their home defended and their spirits lifted. But the victory was bittersweet. The ground was littered with the signs of battle, and the cost of their defense was evident. Liam stood amidst the aftermath, his body aching but his spirit unbowed. Mia approached him, her eyes reflecting a mix of relief and sorrow. "We did it," she said softly. "We defended our home." Liam nodded, his gaze distant. "Yes, but we need to be ready for what comes next. This isn't the end." As they looked towards the horizon, a sense of foreboding lingered. The Gorax had been driven back, but the threat was far from over. Liam knew that they had won this battle, but the war was still ahead.